Stop my culture.
Okay, so we watched The Omen because Becky told us to.
Yeah, I did.
So now Becky's going to tell us why she told us to watch The Omen.
Because it's my favourite horror film.
It's a solid reason.
And you said, when we were messaging, you were like, oh, you can choose whatever you want. And so I chose my favourite horror film.
So I'm always happy to discuss horror on this podcast. Is it my favourite genre?
No, coming of age is your favourite genre, but you like horror.
I do like me some horror. I've watched, there's a book of 101 horror movies to see before you die.
Mm-hmm.
Watched all of them.
Ooh. Were they ranked?
No, the book was done in chronological order, but I didn't watch it in
God, I bet you loved it. Oh.
Yeah.
It's like it was written for you.
Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed that. And then I had a Halloween a couple of years ago where I was 15 films away from finishing the list. So I was just like, right, let's commit. And then I bought them all and watched them all. And this is why my list doesn't go down.
That does sound great, though. That sounds like a perfect Halloween.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I would say definitely my favourite subgenre of horror films is the occult, devil, witchy, devilish stuff going on. Yeah. So this obviously ticks that box. I think I think the performances in it are pretty strong, mainly from Gregory Peck, who's amazing. David Warner, who plays Keith the photographer. Yeah. And they have a really strong chemistry, and I think where the film is at its best is the bits with those two off on their little adventures. It's got the quintessential creepy kid to beat all other creepy kids, to the point that Damien has sort of entered the zeitgeist or popular parlance as oh my god, my kid was being such a Damien this morning or whatever. And score's amazing. It's got some really strong 70s fashion.
Yes,
there's a couple of kills in it that are just still today massively hold up. Plus a bunch of it, well, not a bunch of it, some scenes, and especially towards the end, were filmed around my kind of hometown. So Guildford Cathedral and Seven Hills Road, which was the road that we always used to drive down on the way to my nan's house. Both make a pretty strong appearance. So I think there's an element of kind of nostalgia to it as well.
Makes sense.
So yeah, just love it.
I don't think there were any films filmed in Hillingdon where I grew up.
No,
nothing I can think of. And I can guarantee if there were, they wouldn't be very good. They wouldn't be on the Omen level.
The opening battle scene of Gladiator was filmed in Bourne Woods, which is also in my hometown.
All right.
Fair enough. Everything's filmed near your hometown.
Yep. Sorry.
Well,
sorry, not sorry.
Not everything. The Omen and
all right,
Gladiator.
But I mean, those weirdly, and this is weird. I don't think there is an actual link, but Gladiator is also Gladiator is in my top 5 films of all time.
Good film.
What else is in that top 5? So you've got The Omen, I'm assuming.
No, actually, no, it's not.
Oh, okay.
Top 10, I would... See, the way... Before I answer, the other weird thing is, there are films that I rate 5 stars, and I would say that I rate The Omen 4.5 stars, but it's still my favourite horror film.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Because it's not necessarily the best horror film, but it's my favourite.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. My favourite horror film just squeezes into my top 5.
Which is?
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, good. Okay.
But that's in at number 5. But yeah, my top 5's all over the place, to be honest.
So mine is... so at number 1 it's Jaws. And then the 4...
Well, that's a horror, right?
No.
No?
Not in my opinion. A lot of people say it is, but they're all wrong.
Pretty sure it's in my 101 horror films to watch before you die, but
probably. I just don't think it is. Anyway,
okay.
So that's at number 1, and then the 4 underneath aren't really in a particular order, and it sort of fluctuates.
Yeah.
So Gladiator, Lost in Translation.
Oh, that's a great film.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And My Neighbor Totoro.
Nice.
Okay. It's a solid top 5. Ellie, what's your top 5?
Your Name.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I was one of those people that always used to say Star Wars, and then I don't know, I think about it now and I'm like, is Star Wars one of my favourite films, or am I just nostalgic for Star Wars? I think I might just be nostalgic for it. So I don't know what my top 5 is anymore. I super love Judge Dredd, the new one. I'm putting that in my top 5 just to piss everyone off.
The one that was called just
Dredd.
With Carl Urban. Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry. Who is going to get pissed off as that as a choice? That is
one of those films that people are like, oh, the original stuff's so much better.
It's the sort of film where the only thing that I can think of that people would complain about that is they'd go, oh, it's basically The Raid, but with Judge Dredd.
It's so controversial in a lot of circles, but Dredd is way better than The Raid, for one thing.
It's cool.
It is. I think it's an underrated movie.
Yeah,
I fucking love that film.
Yeah, cool. I'm glad other people do, because genuinely, I saw that film. It's one of the only films I own on DVD. I was like, oh shit, I loved that movie a lot.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Then probably Godzilla. I'd put Godzilla in there, Liam. You know, I've got a thing for Godzilla.
The recent
Godzilla.
one?
Which
probably
one?
the most recent one. Which isn't even...
No.
I just love Godzilla and seeing him in beautiful, high definition. Or maybe I'll put Shin Godzilla in there.
Criterion released the original on Blu-ray.
Instead, I'll put Shin Godzilla in the Japanese one, because that one's mind-blowing.
Great. I love that so much. Proto Godzilla, when he first comes out of the sea with his like funny little face, and his big eyes. Oh, I loved him so much.
Weird. It's such a weird film.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. What a great movie.
That is, honestly, yeah.
Haven't seen it.
It essentially like looks at the bureaucracy behind a Godzilla monster attacking Tokyo.
It's
It's really
you need
great.
To see it just to see the weird proto Godzilla, because it is.
He's so cute. I want one.
Like, it's just weird.
I remember you reviewing it on the podcast, Ellie, and you said like it was a mixed bag. You said some of the special effects.
Yeah, it's not
weren't
good
great,
CGI or anything.
Voice
it's just
acting.
amazing.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I haven't got a top 5. Those are the ones that I can currently think of. So,
would you not have Lord of the Rings in there?
Yeah, I was saying this to someone. Lord of the Rings is the film I have seen the most, like that trilogy. I have watched it. There was a period in high school where like every weekend for 3 weeks I would watch the extended edition 1, 2, and 3, and then that would just repeat. Like the next weekend I'd be like, I'd watch one again. Like not for like years, but that would be like, you know, there'd be maybe a month where I did the trilogy twice and was like, what the fuck am I doing?
I have this like really fond memory of when I was a teenager. We were going to Canada on holiday, and we had to like get up ridiculously early to go to the airport. And I timed it. Was like, if I start watching the extended trilogy now, I can watch all 3 and have like half an hour before we have to leave, and it will keep me awake throughout the night, so I don't end up having to like wake up at ridiculous o'clock. So I just did that, and it was like one of the best days ever, because then I had all the excitement of like going on holiday as well.
I had
sounds great.
I had the opposite problem where I remember me and a friend had a day off from school and were like, oh, we could just watch like the whole trilogy. And then I completely misjudged it, and then I had to tell my mum that she wasn't allowed to have the TV for another hour because we were still watching Return of the King.
Oh, I bet your mum loved that.
Why did you put on a film before this? And we were like, no, it's been the whole day, and we've misjudged terribly.
Yeah, they are long.
Anyway, we got distracted with our best films.
Yeah, sorry, back to The Omen.
Oh, yeah. It's my favourite horror film. So,
what's Ellie's favourite horror film? Just before we go into it, because I've done mine. We've heard Becky's. So what's Ellie's?
Event Horizon, maybe.
Ooh,
sci-fi though, isn't it?
Sci-fi horror.
Event Horizon is more of a horror than Jaws is.
Yeah. Like Alien is a horror film, like the first one, but that's
of course
sci-fi.
it is.
Yeah, I when it's like sci-fi horror, for some reason my head just puts them in sci-fi instead of horror. I don't know.
That's
why.
weird. That's like me being like, you can't have Nightmare on Elm Street because it's horror supernatural.
No, it doesn't make any sense. It's more slasher than anything, to be honest.
Well, you don't discredit your own... Whatever. I answered your question. Let's continue with our review of Omen.
The
Omen.
There we go. Okay, Becky, lead this discussion, please. Oh, hang on. So wait. You said you like supernatural, witchy, horror-y type movies first, yeah?
Yeah.
Have you seen... Alright, so this is going to be a dumb question. I'm assuming the answer is yes, but like the original Suspiria.
Yes.
Have you seen the new Suspiria?
Yes.
Is it any good?
Parts of it are really good.
This is just me, just generally just wandering now.
I like the Liam.
Totally
I like
off
the
the
Liam
wheel
went,
of the podcast.
lead this discussion, then went, no, all right, no, I've got this. It's fair enough. I'll take over. What's people's thoughts on the new Suspiria film?
I just want to know if I should watch it, basically.
What are you doing?
Horribly distracted.
Like, I know it's difficult because we've had the discussion about Omen before, so we're all trying to come up with a new way of talking about it. But Liam, you are going off the rails.
I've gone.
We've lost him.
About the Omen. Let's just circle around on all these different horror films. But yeah, should I watch the new one? I love the original.
It's a fucking shit show. So there are parts of it that are phenomenally good. Basically, all the stuff that is actually witch-based and in the dance school, and some of the actual choreographed dance performances are jaw-droppingly good. Yeah. But then it's very baggy. So there's a lot of other stuff that is kind of going on, which I thought was completely pointless and very pretentious and very self-indulgent, and I was disappointed with it. So I would say that you should watch it, because I think the bits that are good are good enough that you should watch it just to see those. But it's a very baggy film.
So I shouldn't go in expecting as good of a time as I have with the original.
I would say no.
Cool. Okay. Right, now, The Omen.
Yes. So how do you normally talk about films?
A bit like this, to be honest.
Yeah, we are usually...
fucking place.
Great.
A bit more all over the place.
We're killing it.
Today.
Yeah.
It's just...
no, typically we are all over the place.
Yeah, it's usually it's
films.
not necessarily a direct discussion of what happened, although sometimes we do that. Sometimes it's just, I don't know.
What we liked, what we didn't like.
So had you guys seen it before?
I've only seen the remake.
Interesting.
So this was in the 101 Horror Films to See Before You Die book, so I watched it several times.
The remake was in the...
No, this one.
Oh my god, right. I suddenly, my opinion of that book suddenly really just nosedived. Alright, okay.
This one, yeah. I've seen all the sequels and the remake before.
Okay. I've never seen any of the sequels or the remake.
Which, that answers a question that we received on Twitter from Frankie, who I can't find the actual tweet now, but it was basically, what were your thoughts on the sequels?
Yeah.
I've never seen any of them, mainly because I just love the original so much. I slightly feel less so with the sequels, I suppose, but definitely with the remake. I feel like it would sully the goodness of my most beloved film. The sequels, I am interested to see, especially the one with Sam Neill in it, because Sam Neill is the best.
That's the third one.
But I just never quite gotten around to it. Again, it's one of these things slightly of I could watch The Omen 2, or I could watch The Omen for the 15th time.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. Did you ever see the Exorcist sequels?
No.
So that's another one where it's The Exorcist, amazing film, then The Exorcist 2, it doesn't for me it doesn't sully the first one, because I can sort of separate them and be right, I can still enjoy the first one and ignore the existence of the sequels.
Yeah.
But the second one is just a real slog. The third one has some good moments in it.
Well, the third one's got that really famous jump scare in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. But yeah, the second one's just a slog.
Well, that's because Mark Kermode is the biggest Exorcist fan, and then his vitriol for the second one is pretty funny.
Yes. Yeah. I'm a fan of him.
Yeah, I like a bit
Ellie
of Kermode.
has to listen to me waffle on about him every now and again.
I do, that's true.
He also likes Zac Efron, so, good taste.
That's true. He particularly likes that Orson Welles film.
Yes, me and Orson Welles.
There you go.
But yeah, so, The Omen. I did some reading this time in preparation. I went through my horror reader books that I have from uni, and not very much. The Omen only ever seems to be discussed when contextualizing other films like The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby. It very rarely seems to get its own discussion, at least in the 4 books that I flicked through.
Wow.
The only bit where it did get discussion was in the sound design, and apparently it won an Oscar for its sound.
I did not
or its
know that.
Music or its score, something like that. The whole gospel type music that's used in it.
Choral.
Yeah, that was being discussed and talking about how it was like that was like an ancient type of sound that was bringing this like modern film and rooting it back to all of the religious stuff.
Yeah. The music is, I think it's Jerry Bernstein. I want to say Bernstein. I'm not sure if he was
right.
the person that won the Oscar, but yeah, no, the music is amazing, and you get like they do some like clever sort of cuts with it and stuff as well, where it will be like full on choral strings, screamy, devilly, and then they'll sort of intersperse it with like the kids' screams at the birthday party and stuff like that, which is really amazing. Or they'll just like really abruptly like cut it off, and it will sort of show like how, you know, supposedly peaceful. Like it's very, the sound design is pretty amazing.
He won the Oscar for Best Music Original Score.
Hey, look, at least I haven't talked about fucking kids this time.
No, that's true.
Yet.
Oh, shit. Oh, God. Yeah. I've completely lost. That's why. Oh, right. Oh, I'm Becky, and it totally messed up by itself. I
just deleted all of the audio.
Oh, no. I've dropped myself in it.
Yeah, that incriminating sound clip.
Yeah, what actually happened is my house got like raided by
they took that recording
by like special forces, and they took it away, and I've currently got a tag on my ankle, so it's all a little bit embarrassing.
The things we do for the podcast,
right? Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Gregory Peck, he's the American ambassador to England.
Yeah.
And it's good when he gets appointed that, because it's a bit of a fresh start for them. They come over with their little boy, so Gregory and his wife.
We missed the beginning bit, right, where she was pregnant and there was a priest, and the priest went, "Oh no, baby didn't make it. Have this one instead."
Yeah,
it's a very weird opening, because I get it, but also like, it's a weird choice to make as him.
To be fair, I watched it twice because I was paying attention the first time, but I was like, wait, I just need to watch this again, because it's very like frenetic the way that opening's put together, where he's in the car, and then he's like at the hospital, and he's having this conversation with the priest, and then it's like, right, we're now into the film, and we've got like that montage, and it's just like, there was a moment where I was like, wait, let me just watch this again, just so I make sure I'm definitely following.
Definitely understand what's happened, which is that his wife has given birth to a stillborn baby, and he says to the priest who's kind of counselling him around it at the hospital, like, she won't survive this, it's going to kill her. And he says, well, there is another baby who's doesn't have any parents, was born at exactly the same moment. You could take this one and your wife will never know. And so Gregory Peck's character, Robert Thorne, knows basically that this is like a cuckoo baby, basically, so it's not theirs, but Kathy, the mum, thinks that this is her like biological born baby.
Yeah.
But it ain't.
And
he's a right little tyke. Yeah.
I mean, we don't find that out for a while in the film, but we can assume.
But he's born at 6 a.m. on the 6th of June.
Yeah. So you put that all together.
Yeah.
6 and 6 June.
As clues go, it's a heavy hitter.
Yeah. Well, I liked that it, like, the way it came up on screen wasn't like overly obvious.
That's true.
Like, you did have to do a little bit.
I think it does actually just, it says like 6 a.m. and then 6 June, but it like spells out June.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I guess
they could have done like, a more obvious way of. Yeah,
that's true. That is true. So yeah, they move to England, and you get, as you mentioned, that nice like montage with all the photos of like the birthday parties, kind of with the kid growing up, and I think he's 5 when we start hanging out with him.
What is an ambassador?
I don't really know. It's about diplomacy.
Yeah, if you're the ambassador, you're the representative of your country in another country, but you're like the head, like honcho of that diplomatic relationship. So like the ambassador would talk to like the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
So was Gregory Peck representing America or
America.
UK?
America.
We don't have
in the UK.
We don't have a UK ambassador in the UK who talks to the Prime Minister about the UK, because that would be weird, Liam.
No, but I thought he might talk to America.
But he lives in the UK.
President in America. Yeah, like
And
always
he's
like,
American.
He's like, so he rings up and he's like, no, yeah. So he rings up and he's like, so this is what the UK.
There are a lot of clues, is what I'm saying, Liam. There are a lot of clues that you could have figured that one out by yourself.
All right.
Sorry, I'm being a dick and I apologise.
As well as him being the ambassador, though, he's also a millionaire.
Yes.
Yeah.
You get mention of the Thorne millions. And so even though Mrs. Thorne desperately wanted this child, because they're rich, they have a nanny.
Oh, do you know what they should have had? Butler named Cobbs.
Oh, no, that would have confused matters horribly.
It would have been awesome.
I'm surprised they don't have a butler, but they do have a housekeeper and a groundskeeper, and they have a nanny who is pretty dedicated to the cause.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah, not for long.
No.
She kind of resigns.
What is the implication? Because like all the other, so this is the first nanny in this film kills herself by throwing herself out of a window, or she climbs out the window with a noose.
She climbs out the window, stands on the ledge,
then
with
she
the
swings
noose.
back in and hits a window. That's what I was getting.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's the because every other death in this film is like, I don't know, someone getting, like, it's something happening to someone else. Like, it's not them doing it. But for that one...
Yeah, it's like Final Destination, right?
There's like
I
a
think
series of events.
I think she sacrifices herself so that Mrs. Belloc can come in.
So the implication is that she is actually one of the, like, satanic people.
She's either one of the satanic people, or she's just, like, under the thrall of this, demonic...
I can get behind that. I just wanted to check, because I suddenly thought, I was like, oh, everyone else is, like, killed by something, and she killed herself. But no, I'm on board with that.
And she has that, it's all for you, Damien, that line, which, like, the way I was reading it was definitely that she was, like, not acting under her own control.
Yeah, I think so too.
There.
But yeah, so she kills herself, and then the new nanny comes along.
Yeah, and she is, quite a piece of work.
To be fair to her, she's an alright nanny. Apart from...
Yeah.
The end stuff.
To be fair, they should have checked her references more carefully.
I mean, they really should have.
Because she just sort of shows up and they both are like, did you ask for her? And I'm like, no. Did you? No. Oh, let's go talk to her about this. And they do that and she goes, yeah, here's my references. And like,
yeah, that's fine.
Carry on.
Yeah. Oh, the agency sent you. Cool. Great.
I was really hoping they'd be
How
like,
did you...
what agency? We hired a nanny. Why is there an agency?
How did you know that the other nanny had died? And she's like, oh, the devil told me. I mean, I read it in a newspaper. I read it. It was on the front page.
My coven made her kill herself.
Yeah.
I mean, we read it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that reminds me. So, sorry, just again, you like all these like paranormal type things. Have you watched the Paranormal Activity sequels?
No, I've only seen the first one.
So the first one you wouldn't guess it, but by the sequels they go down into like weird like coven type bullshit. Basically, it gets really like they spin off the mythology and
wild.
It gets confusing.
Isn't that like a weird sort of time travel-y portal situation?
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Yeah.
For any listeners interested,
we watched...
go and listen to the Non-a-Thon-along special we did,
where we watched all five of them back to back and recorded as we watched.
Hear our descent into madness.
Is it worth it?
What, watching all five of them?
Yeah.
Or listening to our episode? Because listening to the episode, yes. Watching all five of them, no.
Okay.
Watch number 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Each one has a thing about it that's interesting. Like 3 has that. Isn't 3 the one with the camera on the fan?
but legitimately, like, if we were to say like
me
these
out.
ones are good, I think it's 1, 2. Was 3?
Yes, it's 1 and
it's
2.
1 and 2 are the ones that I'd be like, watch them, and then you can just stop the series and be like, yeah, that's fine.
Am I missing out on a lot if I just watch? I've seen the first one. Can I just leave it there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I really loved the first one. I really, really loved it. But I mean, again,
Yeah, no, totally fine.
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other issue I have is when I start a series, I like to try and finish it.
Yeah, you strike me as a bit of a completionist.
Yeah, so this is why I end up watching a lot of these like shitty
Except the
sequels
Stephen King
to
books.
horror movies that are awesome. Except for those. Not too big.
So what else happens in The Omen?
So, right, they've got the new nanny, and the dog shows up.
Yep.
Doesn't the dog first show up at the birthday
Yeah,
party?
you first see the dog at the birthday party, then the new nanny secretly lets the dog into the house, and when the dad's like, no, get rid of this random dog that you've brought in, she's like, no, but Damien really likes the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Rottweiler is an interesting choice to hang out with a 5-year-old.
They have a bit of a reputation.
Yeah.
They do.
I don't think it's entirely this film's fault.
No, probably not. I don't think people would blame The Omen for Rottweiler's reputation. So.
No.
I don't know if anyone here knows, but did The Omen like get any sort of like media backlash or?
I don't know.
Okay, because I think it missed like the whole video nasty thing. I don't think it was involved in any of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it was too
It
early.
could be
Was it too early? I just don't think it was.
nasty enough.
Yeah.
It's not a particularly like gruesome film. There's a couple of bits.
Although, to be honest, saying that, the vast majority of the films that were on the video nasties list weren't particularly nasty anyway. So
No.
it could have
Some
quite.
were, but-
It essentially just had to have like a bad, like a kind of bloody cover on the video, so that Mary Whitehouse could take a glance at it and just decide that that wasn't for her.
Yeah, and therefore couldn't be for anyone else in the country.
Maybe The Omen's front cover was too demure and
It
classy.
was just all nuns.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Nan's lovely. That was my Mary Whitehouse
That's
impression.
very good.
It was good.
Thanks.
Now I'm just thinking.
Stop getting distracted, Liam.
We need to cover
The
some
Omen.
of those. We need to cover some.
Okay,
we
that's
need
fine.
to do.
Don't worry about it now. In the middle of
Last
another
House
part
on
of the
the Left.
podcast.
No.
Then, who dies next?
Well-
you're skipping ahead a bit.
We haven't talked about Father Brennan the priest.
Yep, fair enough. That's
Yeah.
important.
Or Keith the photographer. So Keith the
Yeah.
photographer is at the birthday party because like Gregory Peck and his family are like rich and famous, and so he, I think, works. I mean, we never really find out, but I get the impression he like works for like a local newspaper or something. So he's there like taking pictures, and also at the birthday party is Father Brennan, who wasn't on the invite list, but has like snuck on
He's a
to
party
the property
crasher.
because he wants to talk to. He's a massive party crasher. Wants to talk to Gregory Peck and like warn him because he knows that some bad demonic stuff is afoot.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's sort of dismissed from the party quite roughly. And but as he's leaving, Keith the photographer takes his photo. And this all leads to some stuff later, doesn't it? With the photos and some. I mean, I wouldn't even call it foreshadowing, just more
Freaky shit.
freaky shit, showing how people are going to die horrible deaths.
Yeah.
This is also like because he takes the priest's photo a couple of times throughout the next few scenes, right? Like there's a couple of other times where he grabs a photo, and every time he does it, he says "Thanks, Father," and
I know.
yeah,
It's because
I
he's
like
a
that.
polite
he doesn't
man.
seem to. He doesn't say
Yeah.
it nicely.
Oh, I think he
I
does.
definitely got the impression, and I couldn't remember what was going. Like I vaguely knew what was going to happen, but couldn't super remember from the remake. So I was almost like, I wonder if the photographer's evil because of the way, because of the way he'd like, the father would start walking off, and then he'd be like, "Father, thanks," and I was like, "Okay, what? You're almost threatening." But maybe he was just being
I didn't
polite,
get
and I
that
was
at all. I think he's being very
I
polite.
was just misreading it.
Yeah, like I will admit, like the beginning bit where he's like "Father," and then the guy turns around and just snaps out the pictures. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
a bit like I wouldn't
Maybe it's
like
just
that.
because I was.
But the "Thanks, Father" I read
Alright,
as
fair enough.
politeness.
I mean, it clearly
Yeah,
is
I agree.
politeness. We know because we've seen the rest of the film. I just thought it was a bit weird at the time.
Okay.
So when he does take the second photo, it's when Father Brennan's gone to visit Gregory Peck at his office,
Yeah.
and he like locks them both in the office, and security are kind of banging on the door, and the receptionist going mad. And is that when I think that's when he says about it being like the wife that's in danger.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
like, your wife's pregnant.
And
Or does he tell him that his wife's pregnant?
I don't think he says the pregnancy thing at that bit,
later?
but to like get him to agree to go and meet him. Oh no, that's at the cricket match. That's later. That's at the cricket match. So in the office, he just like spouts off a bit more, gets thrown out again, gets another photo taken. But I think like Gregory Peck's suspicions are starting to rise that, you know, something might be a bit bad going on. And then one of the weird things that Mrs. Belloc, the new creepy nanny, does is they're all due to go to a wedding, and she's like, I don't think it's appropriate that your son goes with you to this wedding because, you know, churches aren't for small boys, and she doesn't seem very keen at all on the fact that he's being taken to sanctified ground. And God bless her, the mum, played by Lee Remick, is like, he's my son. Get him in his little suit and get him in the car.
His Sunday best.
Yeah. Which I like. I like her sort of standing up to.
Yeah, but equally I do quite like the idea of like waiting until they're old enough to make their own decision before forcing religion on them.
Yeah, but it's a wedding. It's not like he's being taken to mass.
This is Liam doing his anything that makes Liam's life easier is better. So he's like, people shouldn't have to go to weddings.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of weddings, but I went to Sunday. Is it? No, not Sunday. What's the Christmas Eve one? Midnight Mass? Once, because my nan really wanted to go before she died, and we were like, well, I guess we better go with you. And fuck me, it was boring. Jesus Christ. My cousin, who was like a couple of years younger, like curled up in a ball on the floor and fell asleep.
It's amazing.
And then I saw my English teacher, so I was like, I don't know, in like junior school at the time. Or was it? Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I saw a teacher from school there, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to see you here more often." I was just like, God no.
No.
That would be a hard pass. But yeah, so Damien doesn't really get much of a choice. But outside the church, he throws a right little fit.
The closer they get.
This is Guildford Cathedral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I remember once when I went to a wedding as a kid that I did not want to go to, I threw a right little fit. And my mum did this thing where she pinned me against the wall and said if I don't start behaving, she's going to smack me. And apparently, I've heard this story from her when I was older. She said there was another guy there who was watching this, and apparently all he saw was me being a little shit, her taking me out of the room, and then her bringing me back, and me apparently being like really nice and friendly and happy with everyone. And he was just like, you have to tell me your secret, because I think he was about to have kids. It's like, I don't know how you turned him around from being such a little shit to being like as good as gold. And it was just
threatening violence, yeah.
Way to do it.
Jesus.
Did she pass on like the real hot tip, or did she make up something that was a bit more PC?
I don't think she passed on the real hot tip, but I think she used to have like a look. I'm sure everyone's parents would have a look. Right? Yeah. So
the one they just shoot you, and patience is up.
Oh, I've gone too far.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I went beyond the look, and it was marching orders.
But I get the impression with Damien, a look ain't going to cut it.
No.
Because
violence, maybe.
This tantrum he throws in the back of the car is pretty full on, and he like hits his mum, gets very punchy. I think he's like pulling her hair out, and so they like race away from the wedding, and then Robert and Kathy are like talking about it later, and she's sort of sorting her face out and stuff, like she's got all bruises on it, and he says maybe there's something wrong with him, and she's basically sort of taking it all just on herself. She's like, no, like he's fine. I think it's me, like I can't deal with the stress. And I think it's like, it's quite cleverly done in some ways, because I think the idea that your child has even got like behavioural issues or something, let alone being the literal Antichrist, I think it's probably quite natural to be like, to sort of not want to admit it, and to sort of think, oh, no, it's just me, like, I'm not doing enough, or I'm showing him that I'm stressed and he's picking up on it, or whatever. So she says that there's nothing wrong with the son, and she needs to go and see a psychiatrist. And this is kind of the beginning of her sort of, her starting to lose it a little bit. Yeah. She starts to, sort of wobble. And then Robert Thorne goes to meet Father Brennan down at the
yes, that's right,
Riverside.
And
the father tells him the poem doesn't read, he like recites a bit of Revelations about the Jews returning to Zion and the armies rising on either side, and the Antichrist coming out of the eternal sea and all of this stuff. And the Gregory Peck is like, whatever, I came here because you said my wife's in danger. And then the priest drops the bombshell that she's pregnant. Bit dubious, because how would he know that? But gets Robert's attention, and then he's like, leave me alone, stay away from my family, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, but the devil's not happy about this because he makes a storm come, and Father Brennan gets very freaked out, runs through the churchyard, but then the lightning hits like the lightning rod on the church, and it comes down and it like skewers him like a big priesty kebab.
It's a pretty good on-screen death.
Oh, it's good.
So the priest, right, is he involved in all the Satanism stuff?
Yeah, so he is a
is
Satanist.
That how he knows about the pregnancy?
I think he knows about the pregnancy because it's part of the prophecy. She must be pregnant because he says to him, like, he'll kill the unborn baby and then he'll kill your wife, and then when he's sure to inherit everything, he'll kill you, like the dad. So yeah, I think he knows that she's pregnant because she kind of has to be pregnant.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It's been foretold.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Which, was there like an insinuation there that doesn't Gregory Peck respond by saying something like, that's not possible? Like, is there some sort of like, were they no longer trying to conceive, or were there issues with them conceiving? Was there meant to be some sort of thing there about that?
I'm not sure. Is there something about like she can't have any more children or something? Or
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
Maybe.
Actually.
But then it turns out that she is pregnant anyway. So
yeah, because she's when he gets home, she's like, I feel like I'm losing my mind. And he's like, oh, I understand. Don't worry, you'll be fine. And she says, oh, well, you have to agree to me having an abortion because I don't want this baby. And he's like, oh, shit, she is pregnant. Oh, God, maybe it's all true.
Yeah.
And then he's like, she's having that baby.
Yeah.
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 There's some... So I said earlier that this is a 4.5 film for me, even though it's my favourite horror film. And to be honest, I think the reason it doesn't hit 5 stars is because the representation of female characters in it is rather thin on the ground.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
Yeah.
All of the women in this film are like, they're a wife or a nanny or a secretary or like a housekeeper. So yeah, and then all the men, they're like, I'm an ambassador, I'm a photographer,
Yeah.
I'm a doctor, I'm a priest. You get some women as nuns, so I suppose that's a vocation. But yeah, I just think they're very thinly drawn, and essentially they're all just there to kind of be there for the men who have much more interesting stuff to be doing.
They're plot points.
And then you get the stuff with the abortion and him saying, no, like she has to have the baby. And at first, very, like, lots of raised eyebrows. No, Gregory Peck, that's a bad Gregory Peck. But then he's like, well, it's not actually because he's, like, going against her wishes because he is against abortion or, like, he particularly wants to have this kid. It's because it was, like, prophesized that the pregnancy would be terminated. And he's like, I will avoid that at all costs.
He's basically like, fuck this prophecy.
Yeah. So still not great, but at least he's not doing it from
ideal.
like... Yeah. You get the bit of the zoo, so his mum and Damien have a lovely day out at Windsor Safari Park.
Yeah, which is like I can't remember the name of it, but I called it a drive-through zoo.
Drive-through zoo!
Yes.
Yeah, but it has like a proper name.
Safari Park.
Becky just said it.
Is that the proper name?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it had like a more like...
No.
I don't know, I thought like car was involved.
Sometimes, mate, I do worry about you.
Yeah.
I think Drive-Through Zoo is great.
It's accurate.
Yeah, it is.
I know, like, when I think of Safari Park, right, I think of like proper like vast expanses of land where animals are roaming wild, not like...
Did you just say expanses instead of expanses? You did.
Yeah.
Vast expanses.
I picture one of those
trying to
places with all the vast expanses.
It's very late. My nap clearly was not big enough earlier.
So they go to the very limited expanses of Windsor Safari Park, and Damien scares some giraffes.
Takes out the giraffes.
Yeah, they are. So they're not driving at that point. He's just walking around with some ice cream.
Yeah.
And the giraffes take one look at him and like,
which is fair.
Yeah, nope, right out of there.
Yeah.
It is fair. You're right.
And Mum comes along and she's a bit like, oh, those giraffes are mean, but let's carry on with this zoo experience anyway.
She's like, should we go and see the monkeys?
Oh, well, that was a mistake.
Baboons are genuinely terrifying.
Are the baboons angry at the Antichrist, or is he making the baboons attack the car?
No, I think they're angry at the Antichrist.
Yeah, I think they sense that he is basically a presence
I'm
of
fully
evil,
on board with the baboons then, because the giraffes...
It's a bit like Ted Bundy and the dog.
The giraffes were like, oh, I don't want to, I'm scared. And the baboons are like, hell no. We're going to beat up the Antichrist, who's a small child.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's like 4 giraffes, and there was like, what, tens of monkeys.
And giraffes are very peaceful, docile herbivores, whereas baboons are terrifying psycho monkeys.
They'll chew your face off.
They will chew your fucking face off.
Yeah. And also, watching that scene with the surround sound downstairs was just fucking... There were monkeys everywhere in that room.
So, fun fact. So Kathy's responses in the reactions to the screamy, jumpy, scratchy, bitey monkeys. That was all legit, like genuine. So those were all her genuine, Lee Remick, the actress's genuine terrified reactions to the monkeys, which is quite impressive considering she sits there for ages just screaming and then decides to wheel spin away.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it must have been so much easier to make a film where you were like, we need an actress to be scared of baboons. How do we do that? And they were just like, just get some baboons to attack her.
Chuck a bunch of baboons at her.
Yeah. Zero health and safety, risk assessments.
It's like the Hitchcock method, right? In the birds, where it's like, all right, well, we need to make her scared of birds, so here's a fuck ton of birds coming at you.
Poor Tippi Hedren, honestly, what that woman went through. And apparently in the Omen, they didn't. The zookeepers didn't feed the baboons for a day before filming, so they were extra angry.
That's always a good plan.
Yeah.
With safari, do we still have safari parks in the UK?
Yeah. Longleat, I think that still exists.
How are they safe for the animals?
Well, a lot of the time the animals can't oh no, they can walk up. They're just, if you ran over a lion at a safari park, you'd be fined.
Yes, but not a baboon.
If you ran over a baboon at a safari park, I'm sure you would be fined and probably arrested.
Oh, so I thought you said you'd be
fined.
No,
I said fined.
If you ran over a lion, you'd be fine.
I thought you were just being very blasé about the price of baboons. Oh yeah,
for some
expensive
reason,
lines, but
I got
are
really mixed up. I got mixed up in my head, and for some reason I thought you were saying if you run over a lion, your car would be fucked. I don't know how I got that from what you were saying. It doesn't make any sense. But then I was like, right, but a baboon you could get away with running over, and your car still being okay.
Fair enough.
But I hate the idea of safari parks. They freak me out.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't really do zoos and stuff.
I've done zoos. My mum wanted to do one for Mother's Day. Recent listeners would have heard all about that. They're okay in the sort of right conditions, if it's all for the better of the animals and all that bullshit.
Oh yeah.
But safari parks, I'm just the thought of having an animal that close to me, and my car also being the only thing that's protecting me. I'm like, no, that's a risk too high.
It does. It seems like your ideal type of zoo, though, Liam, because it's the least effort.
Is it though? I've got to drive around.
Oh, true. And if it got dark, you'd be stranded there, and it would be a nightmare. Yeah, no. Fair
yeah. If it was the least effort, I'd be chauffeuring around the zoo and
Uber around the zoo.
Could you imagine? It'd be so good.
Amazing.
But anyway, I really like that scene at the zoo.
It's good. It's good. It's quite scary.
I wish we could have seen some more animals, an actual experience where they're driving through different enclosures and all of the animals are freaking out.
Yeah, I guess it's just a cost.
It could gently escalate. So you'd start with I don't know, some boars or something, then maybe some zebras, and then you get to the monkeys, and then you get the lion or something.
Elephants.
Yeah, but a pissed off elephant's gonna fuck your car right up, and that's the end of Damien, then, isn't it?
Yeah, good point.
So they leave the zoo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it gets to the point that she's preggo. Damien very unhappy about this. So she is in some quite serious danger.
Yes.
And Nanny winds him up in a room with a closed door. It's got him just going round and round and round on his little trike.
Bit Shining.
Very Shining, I think. Yeah,
a couple
especially
of years before Shining, I think.
76 this was made.
Yeah, I think Shining came out 80.
Okay. And then definitely like as you sort of follow him like along the landing. So his mum's doing some very precarious interior decorating.
Yeah, isn't it like a light bulb blows
By-
or something, or something falls?
Or she's like fixing the
something
lampshade
fell,
or something
and then
like
she's
that,
putting
right?
it back up, but she has to climb on a table next to a banister.
And the table she uses did have a fish bowl on it, and she puts the fish bowl in the single most precarious place it's possible to do, like on top of a banister over a sort of 20-foot drop.
Just talk about that, right? Why would you keep a fishbowl on, like, the landing?
As decoration?
Just doesn't seem like a sensible place to keep a pet.
Okay, well...
Does it? Like, on a second floor
To be
landing?
honest, I think as long as the fish is in the water, it doesn't really care where its bowl is.
Okay.
It doesn't need a nice view. It's going to have forgotten it in 3 seconds.
I like that this is the bit Liam's getting hung
That's
up
not
on.
true.
It's a bit...
Yeah, like we had a goldfish, and they do learn like routine, like when you're going to feed them. So they have.
All right, Liam, calm down. Let's talk.
That's debunked that.
Me and Becky haven't eaten yet. It's 11 p.m.
It's 8 minutes past 11 and I'm so hungry and I just want to talk about the film.
You're dragging it out by talking about
so
fucking
we've got the fish, she puts it on the side, and then Damien comes along, bumps her, the fish bowl goes over the side.
Incredible shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice slow motion.
And then the smash at the bottom, so good.
Then she's hanging onto the banister, and she's like, help. And Damien's like,
No.
I'm 5, what do you expect me to do? And then
she has a less
and you have
impressive
that weird
fall
shot.
where they've clearly put her on something. Got her to rotate as she falls. It's weird. It's such a weird.
Yeah,
shot.
that it hasn't held up super well.
No.
That effect, has it?
No.
Doesn't
kill her though, just the baby.
Yeah. So Robert hears that she has fallen and is in hospital. Comes along and finds out. Yeah, she's miscarried the baby. Damien's like, nailed it. Fucking tick that off the to-do list.
Yeah. What's next?
What's next? Well, it's time to kill Mama, isn't it?
Yeah, is this when the dad goes to
So-
Egypt? Or wherever he goes, not Egypt.
Yeah, Dad goes on his
To
European-
Rome!
I don't know why I said Egypt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically he's at the hospital. She's sort of saying, don't let him kill me, don't let him kill me, talking about Damien. And he goes home, he's like all exhausted, and the phone rings, and it's Keith the photographer. And Keith the photographer says, you've got to come over here, I've got something to show you. And so he goes around and he's developed all the photos that he's been taking. And so there were the ones that he was taking at the birthday party, and he's got some of the nanny, and she's got this like weird dark mark around her neck that looks a little bit like a noose. And then he's taken the ones of the priest,
And he's got the
thank you father doctors, and he's got the like the dark again, like it looks at first it's like, oh, could it be a smudge on the film, and then like it becomes much more kind of obvious, and again it looks like the lightning rod that's like skewered him. And he says, I know that you're going to investigate it and I want to come with you. And Gregory Peck's like, no, it's got nothing to do with you. This is my business. And then the photographer's like, well, actually, it does have something to do with me, because look at this. And he shows him a picture that he'd like taken in the mirror. So it's like a self-portrait by mistake. And he's got this like slash through his neck. And he thinks like, shit, I'm also done for, so we need to find a solution to this. Pretty sharpish. Yeah. And they go over to Father Brennan's old little house, and inside he's...
Lovely set design.
Oh, this is probably my favourite scene of the film, I think.
Yeah.
So he's got the pages of the Bible, like literally pasted over every surface inside the house, so it's on every wall and like over the windows and stuff, and he's got like nearly 50 crucifixes,
I think it's like 48, is it?
yeah, something like that, and And he's the photographer's like, it looks to me like he was trying to keep something out. And that's when we find out that he had, so as part of the autopsy after he got skewered, they found a strange birthmark that looked like 3 6s.
Yeah. But not in like a row, but like imagine like a triangle made of 6s.
Yeah. It's quite a cool little design.
That is.
Okay.
It'd make for a cool tattoo.
It would. I would imagine there are many.
So many.
So many. So they're like, cool. Well, let's go on a little jaunt. Fancy some pizza? Yeah, Euro trip. So they go over to Rome to find out a little bit more about this baby that is apparently a pretty bad egg. And they go to the hospital, and there was a fire at the hospital which has burnt all of the records, so they can't find anything out about the adoption. And this is where they meet the nun, and this is where we see the nun lifts.
Yeah, we discussed this at great length last time. We'll truncate that discussion, but basically there's just this weird elevator.
It's a weird lift.
It's like I can't remember what they're called now. What the
Dumbwaiter?
Dumbwaiters. It's like a dumbwaiter for nuns.
Yes.
Yeah, a nun waiter.
No. And so she's like, right, well, there was this priest who was here. He might be able to tell you some stuff. He was here at the time, and this rings a bell with Gregory Peck. And he's like, yeah. Where can I find him? And she says, go to this monastery. He went there after the fire, like he was badly burned, but he was still alive when he went there. And as she finishes telling them this info, she just like casually steps onto a sort of open elevator.
Yep.
And disappears. It's the most amazing thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, we were discussing this last time. We were saying like, what happens at the top?
What happens at the top? I know.
And I still honestly couldn't tell you.
No, I don't think we solved it last time, and I don't think we're going to do it now.
No. So they go to the monastery.
Yep.
Meet the burnt priest man.
Yep.
He can't really talk, but he can write. Mm-hmm. So he writes a single word, which then takes them to a graveyard.
Yes.
Or cemetery.
Yeah.
Same
To
thing,
find...
right?
Same diff.
Is there a difference? Yeah.
They're trying to find the remains of Damien's mum, Damien's like true mother, and potentially the remains of his son, to see whether his son's actually still alive or not.
Yeah.
Was that like their initial plan when they went there, or was that just something that they decided to do once they got there?
Which bit? The my son bit?
The baby bit.
Yeah, so they get to the cemetery, and they're like, oh, I've got to see if it's my son or whatever.
Yeah.
But before they went to the cemetery, was he like, oh, I also want to just check
I don't remember if he was specifically like, my son's there too, or if he was just like saw the grave and was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I can't super remember.
Okay.
It says like Bambino or whatever on it, doesn't it?
Yeah. So they find the mum's grave first, and they open it, and I thought that you corrected me last time that it was a small horse. Actually, it's a jackal.
Yeah, it's a jackal.
Correct. Yeah.
I love that you thought it was a small horse.
Slight difference. Yeah, it's a pony. To be fair, knowing my feelings towards horses wouldn't surprise me if the Antichrist was better.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, Liam hates horses.
So I gather. So yeah, but that's a cool scene, right? They like open it up and it's like, ooh,
Yeah, and then it gets even darker with the next bit where they open up the child's grave, and they find out that it wasn't stillborn, had its head caved in.
Murderers, he says. Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
They killed him just like minutes old, and they caved his little tiny baby skull in.
Jesus.
The only thing I'll say about that scene is really obvious that it was a set.
Oh, so obviously.
It was not shot on location.
No. You're so right. I know, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure even, like, the sky in the background is just one of those, like, realistic painting things. Like, they've basically done it in, like, a garage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the rest of the scene is, like, super creepy, really chilling, really effective. But then it's just this, every now and again, you're just like, that's not a real place.
No, definitely not.
It's movie magic. Yeah.
And so after they've made these gruesome discoveries, the evil devil dogs turn up and chase them around. And they like flee, jump over good old chase. Jump over a fence, and Robert like impales his arm on the spike on top of the fence, which is pretty
Yeah.
Because it's not just that it's not just that it goes through his arm.
Yeah.
It's also like the dogs are still trying to get them, and like Keith the photographer is sort of trying to get him down, and like his weight's on it. Like that's quite. Yeah. It's quite grim.
Yeah.
I don't like seeing Gregory Peck in pain.
No, that's fair.
And then they get back to the hotel, and he gets a phone call when he gets back there because something terrible has happened at the hospital.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but only because it's so insane.
Is it though?
Only because this is the one bit I can remember from the remake.
Oh,
like the remake
and in
version
fact,
is much less dramatic.
I've said it wrong anyway, because of course what actually happens is he doesn't get the phone call. He phones the hospital to talk to Kathy and say, get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
It turns out you are in loads of danger. And she's like, oh, well, I can't really move. Like, she's got like a broken pelvis and stuff. And he's like, he's like, no. Like, I'm sending somebody for you. You'll be fine. Like, just get the fuck out. And as she's got like her nightie kind of sort of trapped over her head with like the cast from her arm, and like she can't really, like she's all sort of tangled up in quite a hilarious comedy moment. It probably isn't supposed to be, but it makes me laugh every time. And but she like hears something behind her, and it's Mrs. Belloc, the evil nanny, who then forcefully pushes her out the window, and she falls through the roof of an ambulance, and that is it. She is dead.
Yeah.
But then lands perfectly on a gurney.
Mm-hmm. Just makes it easier for the porters to take her back into the morgue.
Yeah, exactly.
She's considerate to the end, that one.
Yeah.
It's so dramatic.
Probably
that you get him telling his wife to get out, her immediately getting murdered, and then is the next scene him finding out she's dead?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but the other thing is surely right.
Yeah.
When the photographer was doing all his pictures, he would have got some pictures of the wife, the mum, as well, right?
Yeah, but then maybe how do you show you fall through a window
ambulance
with the nightie around your neck? Her whole picture would have just been a black
She's got
smudge.
a flashing light on her head.
Yeah.
True.
I don't know. Maybe it could have been foreshadowed.
Maybe if the whole picture was just dark because she slammed into a car.
Yeah.
Or
so then.
Wait, no. I was about to make a joke, and then I actually realised what it is. Damien didn't kill her. The wicked, like the witch lady did, and so all the ones that leave a mark are when Damien has forced someone to die in a certain way, or the devil has killed them. But that one is literally another human being killing a human being, so it doesn't show anything on the pictures because it's not the devil doing it; it's a normal person. See what I mean?
Which also explains why Gregory Peck doesn't have pictures of him being shot.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. That is some good theorising. I like it.
Yeah. So Gregory Peck returns to the UK. It all starts escalating very quickly.
No.
What?
He's got to go and see Pocahontas first.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Come
Sorry,
on, Liam,
yeah.
You're getting all excited.
Sorry, I was aware that you were both hungry, so I was just
hungry.
Moving along.
whizzing through it too fast.
So Copenhagen.
Yeah.
So the Father Brennan had told Gregory Peck about Copenhagen, and he's in the like the birthplace of Christianity or the birthplace of the Bible or something like that. And he's like he's an exorcist and he's a archaeologist. And so
That's a spin-off film, isn't it?
Fuck yeah, I would watch that. So they go basically after the wife's been killed. They're like, right, Damien has got to die. So he decides that he'll go and see this guy, Copenhagen, to get like the only tool that can kill the Antichrist. And it turns out it's these knives. And there's a very cool scene where this guy, Copenhagen, like talks him through how to do them in like the right order. Liam would have loved it.
So for the knives to work, they had to be done in a he has to be stabbed in a specific order, does he?
Yeah, so he says like you have to put the central one. So it's in the shape of a cross. You have to put the central one in first, which extinguishes his heart, and then the next one is like the next one up. I think I can't remember whether it's his head or his throat or whatever, but that extinguishes like the soul or something, and then all the others just like radiate outwards. So there's like a ritual that he has to do, and it has to be on consecrated ground and all of that jazz. And it all sounds very convincing, but still, Gregory Peck is like, but he's just a little boy, like he's just 5, how am I supposed to murder my child, like even if he isn't really my child, like I've raised him and he's just a little boy, how can I be sure? And Copenhagen says, well, if he is the Antichrist, he'll have one of these 666 birthmarks, and if you've never seen it, it'll probably be under his hair. So Gregory Peck leaves with this sort of plan, but then he meets back up with the photographer and he's like, still can't do it.
Yeah.
Little boy, he's been my son, blah, 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 and like throws the knives away.
Which is...
And Keith...
It's like a building
weird,
site.
because you'd think... I get that you're like, oh, I can't kill my own son, but you would think, I don't know, you would just throw the knives away, because then obviously the photographer's going to be like, I'll do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a dramatic gesture, you know.
It's good. I'm only complaining because lack of food.
So yeah, he sort of throws them onto like a building site because there's like construction work going on. And Keith, the photographer, goes to fetch them because he's like, don't be stupid, you can't throw them all away. Yeah. And then we get not only the best death of the film, in my humble opinion, but one of the best deaths in like movie history. It's so great. I fucking love it so much.
It's so good.
So like the glass panel slides, so he like bends down.
Yeah, he goes to get the knives, and then you also see the shot of someone like parking up a van, and they pull the handbrake up, then they get out, and the handbrake falls back down. The van starts rolling backwards. There's a sheet of glass on it, and it hits something, and the sheet of glass comes flying off and decapitates.
Yeah.
And his head does a flip.
And then you've got his head just like flip. Yeah.
And then it like lands and you get a cool like, and there's a big spray of blood, and you get when it lands you get the cool like reflection of it like in the shattered glass as well. So cool.
It is awesome.
And obviously Gregory Peck's like, fuck, I'm on my own now. So he goes back to the UK and goes home, and there's this very cool sequence where he's like trying to get up to Damien's bedroom without the dog sort of getting him, and so he like sneaks. It's really tense. He's like sneaking, and the dog's sort of, he knows that something's going on, but he can't quite figure out who's there or whatever. And then he like Gregory Peck does this thing where he like goes down to the basement, so the dog like follows him down, and then really quickly runs back up and like shuts him in the basement.
Yeah, he outsmarts the dog.
It's very cool.
I fell for it as well. He outsmarted me.
It's not impressive.
And then he gets some scissors, goes and does a little bit of
barbering.
Yeah, amateur barbering.
Yeah.
And
perfectly finds exactly where it is, like on the first few snips.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's handy that.
Yeah, I always expected like several attempts before you'd get there.
I was gonna say, although I'm pretty sure this isn't right, I was gonna say, oh well, the actor, like Damien's the actor, his real mum in real life was probably like, you can cut a little bit, but he's got school photos on Monday, so don't cut it all.
Don't go too crazy.
And then I realised like there's absolutely no way they're actually cutting that real kid's hair. Like it's definitely like how ridiculous. But anyway.
Yeah.
So he cuts it in exactly the right place, finds the 666 birthmark, evil nanny attacks, and she like jumps on his back and she's like clawing at him, and puts up a right old fight. They do. I would not take her on, I can tell you. She is pretty scary.
I mean, this whole film is just like, if I was anyone in this film, I would just be like, dude, it's fine. You're my heir, and not only are you my heir, you can just have it all now, and I'll go. Don't kill me. I'll just leave.
Yeah, we'll all just leave. You just do what you want. It's fine. Become Sam Neill in your own time. Yep. I'm proud of you, kid. But yeah, so he manages to like knock her out, and then he grabs Damien, bundles him in the car, off they speed, up Seven Hills Road to my nan's house. But before they get there, they pull into a little church of consecrated ground so that Gregory Peck can end it by extinguishing the life of little Damien, the Antichrist.
But he still doesn't, like, to me, I don't think he'd have gone through with it even if the police hadn't shown up. Like, he was still sort of wavering.
Well, it's when I think he's going to do it, and then cheeky little chappie's like, no, Daddy, no, please don't, Daddy. And then, I mean, that is a proper...
But then he goes to lunge with the knife, because that's why the policeman shoots him. So he would definitely have done it because he's literally about to do it. Like, he goes to plunge it down.
I'm not convinced he would have. Right, stabbing a child once is one thing, but then like a further, 4 times on top of that?
Once you've done it once.
At least,
He'd have done the one, and then he'd have been like...
Yeah, that's the hard part. The first one's the hardest, Liam.
Oh, and then you do it, and you go, actually...
Got a taste for this now.
Yeah!
Alright, okay. Maybe I just have a different view on stabbing children. That's fine. I'm alright with that.
Yeah.
And then the closing scene... So Robert's best friend is the President of the United States of America, it turns out. They were at college together. And so the final scene is basically the funeral of Robert and Kathy. And it like pans backwards. They do the cool thing with like the folded, like the triangle flag that you always get at like military funerals or whatever. And there are like soldiers with their guns.
Yeah, it might just be me, but there was a moment where I was like, oh, who, like, did he manage to do it before he got shot? Like, there's definitely a bit of a moment where you're like, there's like almost like a fake out, and then the camera does pan out, and you're like, yeah, no, he didn't get to finish this.
Damien's buddied up with the president.
He's buddied up with the prez. And then you get that, like, iconic shot of him turning around in his ugly little hat, smiling at the camera.
It's such a good shot, though.
So good. He's so really evil. You know how fucked you are.
Like, yeah, he turns and he looks at the camera, but he doesn't smile immediately. Mm-hmm. It's like there's a recognition where he's like, I've got away with this. And then once you realise that, then he smiles.
Yeah.
Like, the timing of that scene is just perfection.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a bit of a weird plan, because he's buddied up with the president, which I get it.
Yeah.
Because the evil will rise from the world of politics.
But
well, that was the redirect. So initially, the prophecy was that it would rise from the sea, and then apparently a reading of that was that the sea would mean politics because it was always in turmoil, something like that. But that's
also not how politics work. Like, yes, the president appears to have adopted you. You inherited your dad's fortune through that side, yes. But being the president's kid, that ain't going to get you nothing. It might get you a bit of respect.
I guess it doesn't mean that he's going to become the president. But he's there for, like, if you're the president's kid, I think that can be
like George Bush.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Fair.
I thought you meant like George Bush's kids, and I was like, I don't know who they are, but I see what you mean. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. but also there are sequels, so if you want to find out how this all pans out,
I think I will.
I'm tempted to.
You know me, I probably will, and I'll discuss them on future housekeepings if I do.
Great stuff.
So anything about the Omen specifically that we want to call out before we wrap everything up? Because I think like the acting throughout is pretty solid, but also like the kid that plays Damien, like obviously is very young, so doesn't have a whole lot of experience of acting, but is also like pretty damn good.
He's good. He's pretty naturalistic. Like he's not because he doesn't really have any lines. So there's just a lot of sort of reaction stuff and like, evil little smiles and tantrums and stuff.
Yeah, but how do you direct a kid and be like, just look fucking creepy? Like, here's your mum hanging off a banister.
You say to a kid, hey, do some acting, and the kid's got no idea what's going on, so just freezes up and is like, and that's perfect. Yeah. That's what Damien does in most scenes. Is like,
nice.
Yeah, fair enough.
Stare at those drawers. Perfect.
Brilliant. Stare at the camera. And
there
now
we go.
Smile.
Done.
We got it.
Fair enough. What would we rate the episode? Becky's already said 4.5 out of 5, I believe.
I don't remember what I gave it last time, so I'm going to say 3.5 out of 5.
And I'm going to agree with 3.5 out of 5. Like, I like it, but there's other similar-ish, like Exorcist or Rosemary's Baby, I prefer.
Fair.
Okay. Next time on Nerd on Nerd, we are going to be discussing Rat Queens Volume 1, Sass and Sorcery. It's a graphic novel. I think it's like inspired by D&D or something, and Ellie's on this whole like D&D kick at the moment, so that's why we're doing that. Becky, where can people listen to your podcast? Where can they find you on the internet? All that good stuff.
So the podcast is Don't Point That Horror at Me. You can find us at Point Horror Pod across all the socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm Bunny Dark. Yeah, that's it. Bunny Dark.
There we go. Easy. Thank you for joining us for this discussion.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming back again.
Thanks for appearing on 2 episodes, one of which is lost forever.
Yeah. Well,
appreciate it.
No, thanks very much for having me
It's lost
on.
to the internet, but it's not
No,
to
that's
us
true.
and our hearts and memories.
So true.
Us three all got our own
Ellie.
special Nerd on Nerd episode that no one else will ever listen to.
Yeah, lucky us. Ellie, where can people find us?
We're Nerd on Nerd on Twitter. Email us at nerdonnerdpod@gmail.com. Facebook.com/nerdonnerdpod, all one word.
I never update that.
You're in charge of social media. You made me update it for fucking ages, so you better be updating it. Fine.
I never do. Keeps notifying me. It's like, your followers haven't heard from me in a while. I'm like, yeah.
We're on YouTube. If you search Nerd on Nerd, we come up somewhere. Maybe.
No, we do come up. All one word. All one word.
Everything's all one word with us. Rate us on iTunes. That's the thing people ask for. Do it.
Yeah, why not? Doesn't hurt, does
Probably
it?
not. Well, unless they give us 1 star, then it will hurt. Please don't do that.
Yeah, I was going to say, it depends on what the rating is.
Yeah, true. Rate us nicely.
Yeah, rate us nicely. Is there anything else we do at the end of an episode?
Yeah, final thoughts?
I'm hungry. Bye!
Bye.
Bye.